This is Carlos GGS from Guitar God Secrets, and with a very special tribute episode of our video podcast, if you will. I'm going to talk a little bit about B.B. King and his style and how you can infuse the blues in everything you do. The blues is a critical component of just about every form of music today because it's kind of seeped in around the edges and underneath and above. And it's funny because being a metal player, I notice the metal influences wherever they show up. And it's funny, being a metal player, I see the blues influence show up so much in heavy metal. You wouldn't think it would be the thing that would show up the most. If anything, you might think that jazz would show up more, but I see blues more than anything. If you want to see some sweet blues in action in hard rock and heavy metal, just look no further than Eddie Van Halen or any number of guitarists out there that managed to somehow infuse that in there. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick lick in the style of B.B. King, and we're going to explore something of his that is very unique, his signature vibrato. Okay, so we're in A minor again, and what we're going to do is we're going to slide up from an indefinite place up to the 9th fret on the G string. So it kind of comes out of nowhere. I mean, I could start at the 7, but that's very different than. It's a definite slide. This one's an indefinite one. So we're sliding up to 9 on the G, 8 on the B, 10 on the B, bend up. But what we're doing is we're bending a whole step, but we're also, instead of hitting that note, we're cutting off the note before it actually gets to the B note. So we're bending the A up, but we're not hitting the B or letting the listener hear the B. 9, 8, 10, indefinite little bend there, back to 10, 8, 10, 8. Now the part that is infused mostly, that comes from B.B. King's style, if you watch interviews with him, he talks about his vibrato a little bit, and it is one of his signature parts of his sound. What he does is he vibratos without having his hand anchored on the fretboard. Now, I don't play that way, so for me to try and do B.B.'s sound exactly like he did with his hand off the fretboard would come across as, well, probably something a little tragic. So I'm going to show you the sound and how it works by how most guitarists today do it, which is to have their hand hit the side of the fretboard here. You don't have to anchor with your thumb. In fact, I would recommend against it. But what B.B. talks about in interviews is how he bends pretty much exclusively, or vibratos rather, with his first finger and third finger. Almost never with his fourth finger, and I'm sorry, with his second finger, fourth finger almost never, but he still says that that's one of the ways you can develop a signature vibrato, is to make sure that each finger can do it. And of course, you should be, if you're bending, you bend into the fretboard. If you're on the low 3 strings. With G, it doesn't matter as much, but with the E and B, you need to bend toward the middle of the fretboard so you don't go off the fretboard. Now, what's interesting is that B.B. talks about his vibrato being like dropping a rock in a pond and ripples coming out. So if you can imagine that, there's the rock being dropped in, and then you've got to create the ripples. I can anchor with my thumb, but what I do is I slow down the vibrato so I can't get it as quick or as loose. So the best thing to do is to let your thumb come off the fretboard. Now, if you're going to do it without anchoring your hand at all, you're going to run the risk of doing what you're hearing right here, which is my finger hitting another string, not having as much control. But again, that was what B.B. learned and what B.B. did in his playing. And you're not pushing back and forth like this. You're rocking, so your whole hand turns, creating the leverage. So again, one last time, 9, indefinite slide to 9, 8, 10 on the B, indefinite bend, which is mostly a whole step, 10, 8, 10, 8, now my signature vibrato is a little different. I like to stop and start again, which takes a little bit of control too, because you have to start it back up so it isn't so sudden. It's not like you just made a mistake and your hand locked up. You have to make it sound like you're coming right back into the tremolo or the vibrato of the note. There you go, a little bit of understanding of how that vibrato works for B.B. King and how you can put it into your own playing. You've got to develop your own sound, and part of it is your use of emphasis and vocalizing on the guitar. What makes the blues speak so much is that it's like talking, only you're speaking through the notes you're playing, which is why it's so emotive, why it's so popular, and why it's one of the most important parts of guitar playing that you really do need to learn. This is Carlos GGS from Guitar God Secrets. If you enjoyed this, want to learn more blues, metal, whatever you want to learn, but learn it faster, go on over to guitargodsecrets.com/free video. That's guitargodsecrets/free video, and get your free video on my #1 practice hack that'll get you playing better, faster, and develop the kind of style and signature sound of your own that'll make you your own personal guitar god. This is Carlos GGS from Guitar God Secrets. Live to play, play to live. Practicing my blues face.